March 20th, 2026, sometime after 6, I don't know, 5, whatever. Um, let's talk about the Harrington family. Actually, let's talk about the Seiler family. My Oma and my Opa. I never knew their first names, but obviously my Opa, he was Romanian. He was from Romania, and obviously the last name was Seiler, Seiler. They had 3 daughters. They had Aunt Angie, and Yuta, and Aunt Tina, and I'm categorizing them based on my relation that I was associated with them in. Aunt Angie had 2 children. Actually, she had 3. She had an African American child that was suffocated or strangled at 2 years of age. It was the firstborn. My mother, Yuta, told me about him as a boy. And then she had a second child. It was, I believe, her daughter, and she lives in Greece. She only speaks Greek. Then she had a third child named Gary. Gary lives in Tennessee. I guess he partook in hacking me and causing a lot of chaos in my life electronically through wire transfers, fraud, and so on and so forth. Aunt Angie was racist. I remember one Christmas we were all in the living room and she just came in calling my dad the N word and things like that, and my Opa had to kick her out. So that Christmas we didn't have Aunt Angie there. Um, Now Yuta Maria Seiler, she had 5 children. Yuta is very different. Yuta had um, Alexandra by another guy. She was with him for 4 years. He was a low down piece of trash, so she did what she had to do as a woman trying to take care of her child and herself. She divorced him, even though it was a hard thing for her to do in the Catholic faith. She divorced him. So everybody called her a prostitute. Everyone treated her like crap. And she, just held her head high and did what she had to do for her daughter because she got pregnant at 15. Sounds more like she was RIP'd. She left home, she was humiliated and embarrassed. And she moved in with somebody. I don't know if it was Aunt Angie or I think it was Aunt Angie at some point. I don't know. But when I look at it, I'm like, man, Aunt Angie and Yuta, they looked very similar. Like when they would smile, very similar. So I guess they were quote unquote twins. I don't know what you would say with that. But they very much looked like my grandfather, my Opa. They didn't really look like my Oma. The one that looked like my Oma was Aunt Tina. But let's go back to the family tree. So she had Alexandra. Alexandra had Karim and Sophian, and then Karim. Now Jessica was born 9 years after Alexandra was born. And that was when my mother married my father, Jimenez, when Yuta married Jimenez Harrington. And so she had Jessica in Georgia, and then she had Justin back in Berlin, Germany. Then they moved to Louisiana. No, then they moved to North Carolina. I was born there. And then we moved to Louisiana for a little bit. And then we moved to Detroit, Michigan, where Julie was born. And then we moved back to Germany for 3 years, and that's where I remember Christian. I never really spent any time with Christoph Harrington. They were right across from us. I guess we were supposed to be together. And now that I think about it, if I was supposed to be with Christoph, who was never outside, which means he was inside being RIP'd and tortured as a child, I was always playing with Christian. Always playing with him. So it was obvious that they wanted us to have relations like that. But my brother, I bet you my brother got physically violent with Christian because it was all of a sudden, I remember my brother had a little fight with him. My brother was older and they had a little fight, and then all of a sudden we just never went over there anymore. And I would say hi and everything. And the family didn't seem like, well, I don't know. They kind of were like, oh, no. It was weird. They just started acting weird. And then it got really quiet. And then My grandfather died. But anyway, I digress. So the next in the family tree line would be Aunt Tina. Sorry. No. I mentioned Julie was born, and then we went back to Germany, and then we came to the United States, California. We were in Fort Irwin for a little bit. My older sister was RAPE'd there at 16, and then we moved to Barstow, and then we moved to Apple Valley. Now, Aunt Tina, Danny, was the firstborn. I met him when he was, like 4 years old, around that time. I guess him and Kearney were around the same age. And I never got to meet Sophie. I just learned from my mother, Yuta, that Sophie was born. So I say Yuta is my mother because she was the one that raised me. And she was the one that I had the biggest connection to. So when people say that my mother was Alexandra, maybe biologically, but whatever problems she has in her DNA, Alexandra had in her DNA, it obviously skipped a generation. And I'm very much like my father. And I like to think that I have the best of both worlds. And when I say my mother, I always am referring to Yuta Maria Seiler Harrington because, again, she was the woman that raised me. And I looked up to her. She provided completely for the family, and I knew when she would die that I would be the glue that kept the family together. But I had no idea that I was always the glue, and she was always the glue, and that our Jewish inheritance was the glue. That was the only reason. Everybody betrayed her. My father didn't care. He cheated on her constantly. So people want to forget Yuta Maria Seiler Harrington. No, I won't let you forget her. Because she was a good woman and she didn't deserve to be RAPE'd at St. Mary's Hospital. She did not deserve that on her deathbed and then suffocated by Christy, a nurse who was somebody that, I guess she was a 5th grader when I was 3rd grade in Barstow. And she enjoyed doing that to my mother. I have a problem with that. I have a very big problem with that. Because Yuta never did anything to anyone. She was like me. All she did was give. The problem is everybody is so corrupt that when we gave, it seemed like what we were doing was horrible things. But it wasn't our beliefs. It wasn't our decision. It was God's decision to judge. Even though I showed love, love turned out to be something else for some people. Because they were evil. My father being a Mason, that was evil. The people RAPEing me without my consent, that was evil. The people stalking, hacking, harassing, blacklisting me, that was evil. I'm not saying other religions are evil. I have all the utmost respect for other people's choice in belief. But Jesus is coming back. You don't want the true prophet because the true prophet is trying to show you the true religion, the true act of God, the true Christ consciousness. And nobody wants to know it because it would destroy the whole fragile ecosystem of money, of greed, of deceit, of pedophilia. It would destroy all of that. That's why they don't want an African American woman of Jewish ancestry who is of good heart and good spirit to show you that. And that is why they refuse to make me queen. That is why they refuse, in England, the cultists, the satanic cultists, and all the other officials in the shadow government refuse to let me speak, which in America, protesting, we have every right to do that, right? So if people truly believe that I am who I say I am speaking up about this. All of my brothers and sisters in the targeted community should speak up about this. I know my right, and I know why it's being covered up. I deserve justice. Jesus deserves justice for being crucified. And I will not stop until somebody gets justice. Whether it's me, whether it's my grandmother, Yuta Maria Harrington, Siler Harrington, I was putting it backwards now, or targeted individuals. I want justice for all of us, and I'm going to keep on fighting for that. You want to kill me? You've been trying to kill me. Obviously, you didn't succeed for a reason. So now what are you going to do? Going to try to stop me from talking? It's not going to happen. I'll walk around these gosh darn streets here in New York with a gosh darn freaking speaker and just say exactly who I am. What'll you do then? Claim I'm insane? Take a blood test. Take my blood. You already have my blood. You know exactly who I am. So stop playing the game. Give me what is rightfully mine so that I can rightfully take care of the people, because you're not doing it.